Okay. Can everybody hear me now? I don't think I've ever had that happen with my microphone. Short mics are usually pretty good. Anybody could drop it in the chat. Let me know you got me. We'll continue on the show. Good now. All right. So here we go. Going to restart this show. I apologize to everybody about technical difficulties. I have no idea what happened there. Sure, mics are usually pretty good. No clue. So anyway, what I was saying when I jumped on earlier is I'm really having a hard time with this loss tonight. Given what was on the line, I thought overall the team played very well. I really didn't see too many mistakes, and I felt like a lot of this was really on Rich Rod. Um, you know, I'm just having a really hard time understanding some of his thought process. And again, I mean, it's easy to be a armchair quarterback, right? I mean, it's just kind of what we do here on podcasts and analyzing the Mountaineers. But man, given what was on the line tonight, how important this game was, and uh, I just don't know. I mean, maybe you guys could tell me because I'm really struggling with this. Like, I don't understand some of the decisions to go on it, to go for it on the fourth down calls they made, and that turned out to be the difference in the game. I think if you kick those two field goals, and again, I thought like we played really well. We controlled the tempo in the first half. I felt like we did some really good things. We seemed to have like kind of taken over the game. We had everything going on, and if you look at it, that stop that they got in that first half kind of changed the momentum, right? And then all of a sudden we were kind of playing catch up. For me, maybe I'm just old school. I don't understand why you'd go for it like 4th and 2 um, in that situation. Why not just take the points? And I talked to Brad about it, and Brad was kind of like, "Well, analytics say you do this, this, and this." Like, I get it. In today's day and age, we could look at AI analytics. We could look at our analytics guy that's on staff and say, "Oh, well, the percentages are 66-34. You go for it." Yeah, it just made no sense to me. And I thought it was really a bad move. I mean, look, if the offensive line of our team was our strength, cool. You got Zach Frazier back there. You have, Canuce to some of our old school studs that we had on the offensive line. Great. Go ahead and go for it. That's not who we are right now. Like, why not kick the field goals? And I felt like the one in the first half specifically, I felt like we really were doing a good job of controlling the game offensively and defensively. And then when we did not get that 4th and 2 and we turned the ball over so deep in, the red zone, they automatically went down, they scored. I can't figure that out. Like, am I the only one that's thinking this way? And, again, I get it. Like, we could lean heavily on analytics, but you have to know the environment too. You're playing away, you're up 3-0. Why are you going for it on 4th and 2? It just makes no sense to me. And again, if we had a really good, stout offensive line, I guess I can understand that call, but we're not there yet. And you have a freshman quarterback. Like, what do you think is going to happen? That first 4th and 2 call was terrible. It was like a post route, or actually an out route to the end zone. It wasn't even close. And then you turn the ball over, and then the momentum swings, and we start to lose. And then we have to play catch up for the entirety of the game. And then you get in the same situation, and instead of doing that once again, you go for it again, 4th and 2 and beyond in the second half, and you do the exact same thing. I understand you want to try and run it. I understand you want to try and pound it up the line. Why would you do that? If you would have kicked one of those field goals, Richard, we would have won the game. We would have had a bye week. There would have been a lot of hype. There would have been a lot of excitement around the program. And then we would have been playing Texas Tech, a top 10 team, to get into a bowl game. That is a cool way to end the season. You screwed it all up. I don't understand why you do that. It's hard when you think about it and how the game went. And I took some notes. The calls by Richard to me were the two worst things, I think, personally. I don't think there's any justification. I haven't had a chance to watch his post-game press conference. I'm sure it's up right now. But like I said, I actually DVR'd the game to totally shut out social media until I came home and watched it. And had an opportunity to kind of catch up, but I didn't understand it then. It was funny. Brad was texting me. He's like, "Oh, you're missing a great game." And then I watched the game. I was like, it really wasn't a great game because I really thought we made some mistakes specifically on the coaching side. And we did. And it literally cost us the game, cost us our season, cost us the opportunity to get in the bowl game. So I'm having a really hard time with this one tonight, but I get it too. Dior Hubbard, I think, has just been, I don't even know what to say about him. I mean, he's been so electric. He's also just been gritty and tough and staying in games and making sure that, he's fighting through injury, and to lose him hurt, right? And look, the play Bowers, I mean, that was awesome. I can't remember seeing a play like that. That little dump off to Bowers where he had 90 yards or whatever it was, I think it was like the fourth longest play in Mountaineer history from what they said on the programming. That's amazing. I mean, it's great. But, not having a guy like him in to pound the rock and get 3-4 yards at a time put us in some bad situations. We definitely did not, convert as much as we should have, I felt, in the second half. We were kind of stuck in idle after scoring in the first half, and then we just couldn't really, get out of it. And, I have to say, how about Weimer? This kid, senior, led the team tonight again, and I think this is, several times now that he's done this. But when you look at it, Jeff Weimer had 3 receptions tonight, 90 yards, 30-yard average, 1 TD, 75-yard long. I mean, it's just so cool to see a guy like that. He's a senior coming in, really kind of under-touted, and here he goes. And he's just been one of our most consistent weapons throughout the year. And I really think it's great to see when you see kids like that succeed. But overall, again, getting back to kind of the tail of the tape tonight, and I think I'm going to put this loss squarely on Rich Rodriguez, and that is kind of where my head's at. My fellow teammates on the Voice of Morgantown don't necessarily agree, but when I look at this, that's how I feel. And again, I'm just curious to see what your thoughts are. But when you look at this, I mean, you look at Scotty Fox, right? He had a great night. Dude threw 353 yards as a freshman. As a freshman. 2 TDs, yes. The 1 interception on the game-winning drive or possible game-winning drive is bad. But what do you expect when you have a freshman, right? You shouldn't put your freshman in that position to begin with. Kick the damn field goals. And then you don't have to worry about your freshman quarterback throwing an interception. You look at rushing yardage, Sincere Bowers, he had 13 rushes, 42 yards, 3.2 average. That, to me, really was the differentiating point in the game as well. Again, if we would have had Dior Hubbard healthy throughout the game, I don't think he's not getting to 100 yards. I think he easily could have done that. And then, on the opposite side of the ball, you look at Arizona State's rushing, and they had Jeff Sims go for 17 carries to 81 yards, which has kind of been our MO the entire season, where we've had a really big challenge wrapping up these dual threat quarterbacks. That sucks. And then, their running back, their main running back, Khalif Brown, had 14 carries, 53 yards. Great job by our defense. But again, we lost QB spy on Sims, and it killed us. When you look at receiving for us, again, I already mentioned it. Weimer had 3 receptions, 90 yards. Unbelievable. Cam Bond, 3 receptions, 79 yards. These guys all season have been underutilized, right? Bowers had 2 for 89, and again, that's just on wheel routes or out routes, go routes, whatever it is. But for having our running back being one of the leading receivers, I have an issue with that. Gallagher only had 1 catch tonight, 19 yards, yada yada. You look at it, we really just did not do what I felt like we needed to do. Sure, we had 1 sack tonight, coming off a 7-sack game against Colorado. That wasn't great. And then you look at the opposite team where Arizona State had 3 sacks. I thought they did a good job of getting to Fox. I thought Fox made some bad reads, pulled the ball down a few times when he shouldn't have. And again, that puts you in a bad situation. So I don't know, man. I'm so disappointed because I think like this team really could have done some good things this year. Hindsight's always 2020, but again, at the end of the day, I think me specifically, I was calling for like a quarterback definition of who's going to be a quarterback between Wilkins and Fox going on after Nico came out. And I said it was going to be a huge mistake to rotate those 2 guys, and I think it was. And, you look at Fox, his capability, he's the guy, right? Like 100% all in, great. But when you have coaching working against you as well, it makes it really hard to win the game. And then I'm going to say one other thing about Rich Rod. I don't know if you all saw this, but Rich Rod burnt all of his timeouts going into the last part of the 4th quarter. So we had zero timeouts with 6 minutes and 28 seconds left in the 4th quarter. That is terrible game management. You are not going to be in a position to where you could stop the clock. You're not going to be. I mean, that's essentially also what really killed us and pulled us completely out of the game. So again, right, when I'm looking at this and I'm going through my notes and I'm looking at like how the game could have turned out, there were a lot of great things to be excited about. But do I feel we should have lost this game? No, we shouldn't have lost this game. There's no way we should have lost this game. The only reason we lost this game tonight is because of Rich Rodriguez. And I hate saying that because I love Rich Rod. I'm a huge Rich Rod fan. But I can't justify his thought process tonight. And again, if somebody else has a different perspective, please share it. But for me, when you are in that area with a weak offensive line, you do not risk going for it on 4th and 2 and you take the points. And if he would have just taken one of those points instead of trying to go for 2 on the 4th downs, which essentially is 0 for 2, that's 6 points in the game where we would have won the game and been playing Texas Tech to finish off our season and possibly get in the bowl game. And now we're not there. So, it's a tough pill to swallow. If I would have felt like we would have gotten blown out tonight, then fine. You get blown out, season's over, fine. To lose the game the way we did with as close of a final score as it was, that's a tough pill for me to swallow. So, again, curious to see everybody's thoughts, curious to see what you're all thinking. I'll go through some fan comments now. Again, apologies for technical difficulties earlier. I don't know why my mic wasn't working, but, it's just a tough day right now. So let's see. We'll go through here. Let's see. We've got Scott R5Z3S on YouTube. Appreciate you joining from YouTube, Scott, and for everybody that is joining from YouTube or follows YouTube, please be sure to hit that like button. Just dropped it in the chat. Hit subscribe now right here on our main platform. Totally free, but Scott, appreciate you. And yeah, I'd agree. I mean, you got to kick the field goals, take 6 points, right? Um, weren't very disciplined either. Be curious to know what your thoughts are on that one, Scott. If you want to drop it in the chat. Um, yeah, I wouldn't say they weren't disciplined. I definitely felt like they missed some tackles. They lost contain on the quarterback. I thought they did a good job with it against Colorado, against Juju. I felt like tonight they definitely let the QB kind of get out and they lost contain, which, unfortunately hurt us in several key situations. But I don't know that I would say they were undisciplined, as much as they just um, probably had a little bit of a hard time adjusting to some of the schemes that the ASU team was putting out there. So, stupid penalties cost us. Yep, I'll agree with that. Scott, again, I'm tired of the zone read. 100%. But you know what? I thought our offense again was really clicking in the first quarter up until that the fourth down call where I felt like we just lost momentum. And that momentum can really swing a game, especially when you're playing away, right? So I would agree with you to a degree. I mean, I'm tired of zone read, but look, Rich Rod, his offense has looked a lot better to me in the last 4 weeks. I think getting Cam Vaughn more involved, as I've said for a while, like, dude's just a freak athlete. Just like throw the ball up, let him do his thing. He'll figure it out. And he's continued to show that. And then when you have a guy like Weimer who's stepping up, specifically to fill in with a guy like Jaden Bray and all that kind of stuff, we're not in the worst spot, but we're just making some really questionable coaching decisions, which, again, I'm just having a hard time getting my head around. So anyway, I would agree with that, though, Scott. Oh, excuse me. Let me see. We got Charlie Henderson over here on YouTube. Thanks for joining, Charlie. Sticking with Rich out. No one wants to win more than him. Charlie, I'm not. Again, I'm not saying like go fire Rich Rod. I wish I could understand what he was thinking going for it. Where he was with a bad offensive line twice inside the 15, 4th and 2. It wasn't like it was 4th and a yard, 4th and inches. If you got Zach Frazier back there, Johnny Canuste, like, fine, go for it. But to do it in those situations, I'm just having a really hard time understanding. And I do believe it costs us the game. Those, even if you kick one of those field goals, it changes the complete dynamic of the game, right? So you don't put your pressure on a young freshman quarterback. Maybe you chew clock, maybe you run zone reads, whatever it's going to be, options, and you chew clock. But to put a guy like Scotty Fox in that situation on the road, that's really not a Scotty Fox problem. I still think that's a Rich Rodriguez problem. And, he shouldn't put his quarterback in that position, in my opinion. So I'm not saying go fire Rich Rod, and yeah, I get it. Nobody wants to win more than him, but you know what, Charlie, I think that's also an issue. Is he trying to win too much? Like, is the need to put away the game overriding his good judgment of where he knows he should kick a field goal? Logic tells you to kick a field goal, but because you want to win the game, and if you roll the dice, you're going to score 7 points. At what point does that kind of weigh and kind of come into play? So I agree with you, Charlie, but again, I think there's a little bit of tit for tat there. All right, so we got Steve Ballingy 5909 on YouTube. Thanks for joining, Steve. Yes, while it was a winnable game, you started the season with 8 new players. Seems to move forward. Yes, I would 100% agree with that. We've talked about that quite a bit, specifically in the last couple of weeks. The changes that this team has made through the TCU game on has been drastically different than who they were prior. we had 3-4 game stretch where they just were completely lost. TCU was kind of the turning point where they started to buy in, they started to understand everything, and you see them really kind of figure out who they are as a program. And I think they are going to be fantastic next year, especially if you got a guy like Scotty Fox coming back, Jaheim White, Ty Edwards, like wow. And then you have Dior Hubbard. It's going to be exciting, right? So I agree with the comment. I do feel like we had a few games this year. We shouldn't be in this position right now where we're like living and dying on the ASU game to make a bowl game. But we are, unfortunately, because we gave up easy losses to UCF and Ohio. And if we would have won one of those games, two of those games, which I believe firmly, if we're the team we're playing, if we're the team we are right now, playing those two teams, we wax them. But we weren't the team we are now then. So it's unfortunate. It's part of what happens. But, it's part of Mountaineer football. So again, I mean, look at some of the highlights. I think Steve said it best, right? Like we have to be patient, but when you see some of the things that have occurred this year, it's very exciting. Beat a top 25 team on the road, a very good top 25 team who hasn't lost since we played them. We had our fourth longest play offensively in history. We've got a freshman quarterback breaking all kinds of records. There's a lot to be happy about. I think we would have been a little happier tonight, obviously, if we could have pulled out the W and had something to play for that last game of the season. That's always hard. But at the end of the day, you've got to be proud of this team and what they've accomplished this year. I will continue to question Rich Rod and some of his decision making. I know that the fake media, all 8 of them that sit in that pathetically open room that Mike Montero does not allow anybody else in because they're full. That kind of stuff to me is not true reporting, and I think it's pretty pathetic, to be honest, because they're not going to challenge Rich Rod with tough questions. They're just going to, continue to toe the university line of whoa, blah, blah, blah. Like, is anybody going to say, Rich Rod, why'd you do that? Don't you think you cost yourself the game? If you would have been able to do this, you would have been able to do that. So, I have nothing against Mike Montero other than the fact that he, for whatever reason, uses bad excuses to not grant us access. So, hopefully he'll reconsider and we can be in that room to ask somebody like Rich Rod tough questions that I think us as fans deserve answers to. So we'll see what happens. But look, either way, tough loss tonight. I think Rich Rod's got to own this one. And we go from there. And we hang it up. If we can finish 5-7 on the season with a couple ranked wins, if we could get a top 10 win, I think that does a lot for recruiting. It does a lot for the program. And it puts us in a good spot for next year. So with that being said, let's hope to see it. And cheers, beers, Mountaineers.
Some Morgantown, we break it first. WVU pride, we quench your thirst. No spin, all truth, loud and proud. Mountaineer nation, say it loud. The Voice of Morgantown. VOA.